Well, it's a very special mix of artistic and scientific objects, artifacts. It's a mix of old and new media. We've got beautiful paintings from the collection of the National Palace Museum in Taiwan, sculpture, photography, video, interactive and immersive installations, virtual reality, augmented reality, projection mapping, and lots more.
One of the very first things you see as soon as you walk into the exhibition is the whale bones, the Omura's whale bones. So can you tell me more about that? That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. No, this is definitely one of the highlights of the exhibition. And it also signals the close relationship this exhibition has to the CityU College of Veterinary Medicine and Life Sciences, which has just been launched. And it's, in a way, one of the underlying raison d'etre of this exhibition, this working relationship with this new college. The whale this Omura's whale actually washed up on the coast of Hong Kong, the New Territories, and was salvaged by the college, and they preserved the bones. And I remember one day when I visited their lab and I was holding these bones in my hands, I thought, this is an amazing feeling, to actually handle these whale bones. But of course, handling those whale bones they're quite heavy and they're a bit fragile. And I thought, can't we do something? Can't we 3D print these bones and create a kind of playground where kids can actually not just see them? Because in a lot of museums you see whale bones, but to actually touch them and play with them and rearrange them, I thought that would be really exceptional.
Yeah, you were referring it to as a playground.
Yes.
So you're actually allowed to touch them.
Absolutely.
Because they were just there, so perfectly aligned, and it was on the ground, and I was like, I think it's real. I shouldn't touch it. But you're actually allowed to touch it and rearrange the bones.
Absolutely. We put big signs there saying playground.
I'm so glad we talked about this.
But you were there maybe at a moment when people were not actually, engaged. But I've seen so many kids playing there and really enjoying it. They're all numbered, so you can put them back in the right position.
It makes it easier.
Right. But it is a bit of a jigsaw puzzle because so many of the bones look the same. Yeah. But we also 3D printed them in a way that they're a little bit soft and quite robust, so that you can even sort of do swordplay with them if you want.
So there are 5 sections actually at the exhibition. Yeah. What are they? And I guess you divided them according to like the category that you just mentioned.
Yes. Well. In sort of approaching a kind of curatorial vision for the exhibition, I wanted to divide it up into certain chapters. So the first section of the exhibition is titled Encyclopedia, Compendia, and Scientific Inquiry. And here also you see the exhibits spanning traditional encyclopedia and compendia, which have been sort of drawn up hundreds of years ago. But at the same time we have the most contemporary things like CT scans, a dog and a cat. Yeah. And the second session is titled Auspicious Symbols and Homophonic Puns. Look, this is something that's very much related to Chinese tradition of iconography, where animals have a kind of symbolic significance, and also because of the way they sound, because of the name of a chicken or a bat or a cat or a dog, the name itself it has a sort of second meaning, and so the image of a bat or the image of a chicken then has auspicious significance. Yeah. And we felt this was a very important aspect of our understanding of the animal world, especially from a, let's say, Chinese cultural perspective. The third section is titled Mythical Creatures and Bestiaries, from fantasy to manufactory, and the popular imaginary. Well, this is simply the fact that animals are what they are, but we also have, fantastical imaginings about animals. In the old days when the world was still somewhat unexplored, people heard rumors of a unicorn, and so people drew a unicorn.
And they live on, actually, through movies and different kinds of creative media.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we have also all the creatures which have been invented for cartoons and in the movies. And of course, the dinosaur world inspires us with all kinds of fantasies of monsters. But then, on the other hand, we have another way of seeing these animals transformed by our imagination, and that's in the world of robotics. And there are some examples, for instance, of a robotic kangaroo, robotic butterflies, which are also somewhat fantastical. The next section.
Is that a bionic kangaroo in the exhibition? Is this a kangaroo?
It is a kangaroo. It's a lab set up by actually a German company, quite famous, Festo. And in this lab they are building robots, but all the robots are inspired by the animal world.
So do they perform some functions? Do they have some special functions?
Well, at the moment they are mainly research objects. If you can build a kangaroo which hops, if you can build a robotic kangaroo which hops, you've solved the problem, of hopping, if you understand what I mean. So it means in the future, if you want to build a robot for whatever practical purpose that has this capability, you've solved the technical challenges. And the same with many of the other of their experiments. They've got robotic butterflies. But it means that they've actually developed ways in which they can have winged objects that can fly around. So the lab is very much to do with blue sky R&D. But I think it's really interesting that they're using the animal domain, fishes, birds, creatures, as their models, and the challenge of trying to, replicate the behaviors of those creatures.
Yeah.
And the next session is titled The Harmonies and Disharmonies of Nature. Well, this is a very important section because it looks both at a vision of the world, of a relationship between humankind and the animal domain, which is beautifully harmonious, and this we see represented in so many of the paintings from the National Palace Museum in Taiwan. But at the same time, this section alerts us to the fact that the world at the moment is in a very precarious situation in relation to the animal world because of climate change, because of certain actions we take, deforestation. Animal world is really severely endangered. There are also issues to do with One Health, with our health relationship to the animal world. And also we take certain actions which are very destructive. I mean, one video there is a video about cane toads, big frogs in Australia. They were introduced into Australia as a way of dealing with problems to do with some insects that were attacking the sugarcane. But these cane toads have become a plague now, and they are just the whole of northern Australia. There are hundreds of millions of them, and so we, as humans, we take certain actions which we manipulate things in the real world, which have can have very negative consequences. So this section talks about this sort of dichotomy between how we work well with animals, how we are in harmony with animals, but also there are many disharmonies.
And the cane toad movie that you just told me about, it's actually a 3D movie.
Yeah, it's a 3D movie.
Yeah, I think a lot of the exhibits there, you have to wear the 3D glasses to see it. And it's really interesting, I think.
Yeah, I mean, 3D, I think, is a very powerful tool, right? This particular 3D film about the cane toads was very successful in Australia. It was a blockbuster movie. It's a feature film, actually. Really? And there's even a second one. There's Cane Toads 1 and Cane Toads 2. The last section is contemporary. It's mainly about contemporary art, with a big focus on Hong Kong and Chinese contemporary art. It's how artists today are, you could say, revisioning the animal identity. And if you visit the exhibition, you probably notice how experimental and extraordinary many of these works are.
I really like the portrait on the fly.
Portrait on the fly.
Yeah, you have to stand in front of that portrait, I guess. The it's not even a painting because it moves, right? And then it will the flies on the thing will become an image of what's right in front of it.
That's right.
So then you can see your face.
That's right.
But made up of flies.
That's right. So it's a kind of self-image.
I guess you'd have to go there to see what I was talking about. I feel like if you haven't been there, you're like, what is she talking about? This does not make sense at all.
And actually,
But,
it's a very sophisticated work because the software, that actually does this is very high level. But you're right. Basically, it's a kind of there are flies flying around, and lots of them, thousands of them. And if you stand in front of the monitor, it sees you, and the flies begin to move in a certain way that at a certain moment you recognize that they are making a mirror image of yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got a selfie, basically, made up of flies.
So what are some takeaway messages for your visitors then? What do you want people to understand after coming to this exhibition?
I think we need to understand that humankind has always been in awe of animals, and this goes right back to the earliest cave paintings. I mean, we just recently discovered some very, very old cave paintings, and the first thing that humankind ever drew, the first artwork they ever made, was to represent animals, to show images of animals. So we can appreciate that this relationship with animals goes back, almost to the beginning of humankind, and we have, I think, a very deep-going symbiotic relationship to animals on every level, in terms of our biology, the environment, artistically. It's a very deep-going relationship, and this exhibition is meant to just touch on some of these relationships and to really point out the fact that this is a kind of a one-world relationship, a one-health relationship, and a one-destiny relationship. And I'm hoping that this very deep this very deep relationship between humans and animals, that the exhibition is going to give some new shape to that.
Just everything from nature, art, science, all in one animal exhibition.
Exactly.
And so can you give us the details of the exhibition? So the location, the times, and the dates. And I know that this exhibition, after ending the end in Hong Kong, it will go to Taichung.
That's right.
Yes. In Taiwan.
So this exhibition is the third in a series of partnership exhibitions we've made together with the National Palace Museum in Taiwan. And as of late January next year, it will be in Taiwan for, I think, at least 6 months. And also, we are now in discussion that some components of the exhibition will also be shown in the National Palace Museum in Taipei. Our own exhibition was originally planned to end on December the 30th, but we're having such a fantastic response from the public, hundreds of visitors per day. We've decided that we want to try and keep it going a little longer. So we will run it for another at least 3 weeks in January. So that'll give added opportunity for people to visit. And it's located at the City University of Hong Kong Exhibition Gallery, which is very easy to get to, because it's basically, if you come out of Kowloon Tong Station, just cross the road, you can just go up to the 18th floor and you're there.
The 18th floor of the Lau Ming Wai Academic Building.
That's correct.
Yes. And it's open every day except for Monday, so people can go there.
Yeah, from 10 a.m. till 7 p.m.
From now till mid-January, at least?
From now till 30th of December, then we'll have a few days sort of New Year, Christmas break, and then we'll open again through January.